The water tasted of rust and death, but I drank anyway because thirst overpowers fear. My lips burnt when I pulled them away from the well's edge, and that was when I heard it for the first time. A murmur that was neither wind nor running water, but something older, something that spoke in a tongue my ancestors had forgotten, but my bones still remembered. My name is Ericsson, and when I arrived at this remote village in the northern lands, I thought I would find answers about my younger brother Bjorn's disappearance. What I found was something far worse. A truth the villagers guarded as zealously as they guarded their harvests. A truth inscribed in bones bleached by time and engraved in whispers that emanated from the depths of the earth. I had arrived in midwinter, when snow covered the fields like a shroud and hunger sharpened the villagers' gazes. Bjorn had come here 6 months earlier as a trader, seeking furs and amber to sell in the southern markets. His letters ceased abruptly at the summer solstice. The last one said only this: "Brother, I have seen things that should not exist. If I do not return, do not search for me. But if you do, seek the well." The old man who received me at the village entrance had eyes like wells himself, deep, dark, full of secrets that sank beyond where light could reach. His name was Ragnar, and when I mentioned my brother, his face turned the color of ash. "Your brother was a good man," he said, and the way he used the past tense chilled me more than the winter wind. But he asked questions he shouldn't have asked. He saw things he shouldn't have seen. "What things?" I asked, grabbing him by the arm. "Where is he?" Ragnar freed himself from my grip and pointed towards the village center, where an ancient stone well stood, covered with a heavy wooden lid reinforced with iron. "There," he whispered, "where everyone goes eventually, where we all must go." That night, I slept in Ragnar's house, if one can call sleep that state of half-wakefulness plagued by nightmares. I dreamt of the well, but in my dream the lid was open and from its interior emerged not water but arms, hundreds of them, white as bone, reaching towards the sky like petrified supplications. I woke sweating and found Ragnar sitting by the fire carving something into a piece of wood. Without looking up, he spoke. "Tomorrow is market day. You will see the entire village gathered. Watch, and you will learn what your brother learnt. Watch, and you will understand why he is no longer here." But I did not want to wait until tomorrow. When Ragnar's snores filled the cabin, I dressed silently and went out into the frozen night. The full moon painted the snow silver, and my footsteps crunched like brittle bones whilst I walked towards the village center. The well awaited me. It was older than any structure I had seen before. The stones were carved with runes that time had worn down to mere suggestions of meaning. But even without being able to read them, I felt their purpose: warning, prohibition, promise. I touched the wooden lid, and the cold that emanated from it was not the cold of winter, but something deeper, more absolute. It was the cold of graves, the cold of forgotten places where light has never shone. I should have stopped there. I should have returned to Ragnar's cabin and waited for dawn. But curiosity, that curse we inherit from the trickster gods, impelled me to lift the lid. Which city are you watching from? If this story is gripping you, leave us a comment with your location and don't forget to subscribe, because what I am about to reveal about the well is only the beginning of a horror that has been gestating in the depths for centuries. Give it a like if you want more stories like this to see the light. The interior of the well was absolute darkness. I dropped a stone and counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 seconds before I heard the impact. So deep it defied logic. But it was not just depth that emanated from that abyss. It was presence, intention, hunger. And then I heard my name. Ericsson. It was neither a shout nor a whisper, but something in between, as if the voice emerged from the rock itself, vibrating through stone and water and air until it reached my ears. "Ericsson, brother." It was Bjorn's voice. I fell to my knees beside the well's edge, my heart pounding my chest like a war drum. "Bjorn, are you down there?" "Yes," came the answer, distorted by echo, multiplied by depth. "I am here. We are all here. Those who were given, those who were offered, those who maintain the pact." "I don't understand," I said, my words trembling. "What pact? Who did this to you?" "The village," my brother whispered, and now his voice sounded different, thicker, as if he spoke through water or blood. "The village long ago, when hunger was a god that devoured children and winter lasted years. They found this place, this bottomless well, this portal to what lies beneath the world, and something from the bottom spoke to them. It offered them a deal. A freezing wind blew from inside the well, bringing with it a smell I will never forget. Damp earth, rusted iron, and something sickly sweet and putrid that made me retch. "What kind of deal?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. "Prosperity," said Bjorn, and now I heard other voices joining his, a chorus of the dead speaking in unison. Abundant harvests, healthy animals, mild winters, everything a village could desire, in exchange for an offering each time the harvests fail, one life for each year of hunger, one soul to feed what lies at the bottom. My hands clung to the stone edge of the well, my nails scraping the ancient runes. "And you? What did you do to—" "I saw the bones," Bjorn interrupted. "In the warehouse where they store the harvests, there is a secret room. There they stack the bones of all who have fed the well. They clean them, they bless them, they keep them as reminders of the price of their prosperity. When I saw them, when I understood what they meant, I tried to leave. But it was summer, brother, it was summer, and the rains did not come, and the grain withered in the fields, and the cattle began to die." "No," I whispered, understanding. "They needed an offering," continued my brother, his voice now barely an echo. "And I was a stranger, an outsider who knew too much. So one night they took me from my bed, dragged me to this place and threw me into the darkness. I fell for so long I lost all sense of time, and when I finally touched bottom—" He stopped, and the silence that followed was worse than any words. "What is at the bottom, Bjorn?" I asked, though every instinct screamed at me to flee, to run and never look back. "The mouth," he said simply. "The mouth that opens at the base of the world. The mouth that chews but never swallows. The mouth that keeps us alive, if you can call this life, so that we can continue whispering, continue luring, continue feeding it." I felt dizzy, the world spinning around the axis of this cursed well. "How can I get you out of there?" The laughter that burst from the well was like the sound of glass breaking inside my head. "You cannot," said the voices, blending until I could not distinguish which was my brother. "But you can join us. You can choose the descent, or you can wait for the village to choose for you." "Never," I said, backing away from the well. "I will never surrender to this." "Then run," the voices whispered. "Run, Eriksson. But remember, this year the winter has been harsh. The reserves are running out. And when spring comes and they see that the seeds do not germinate—" I did not wait to hear more. I pushed the lid back over the well with all my strength and ran towards Ragnar's cabin, my lungs burning in the frozen air. But when I arrived, I found the door locked from outside, and around the cabin, forming a silent circle in the snow, stood the villagers. All of them. Men, women, children, elders. They held torches that cast dancing shadows over their motionless faces. Ragnar stood at the front, and in his eyes I saw something that chilled me more than the well's wind. Resignation, sadness, and something darker. Acceptance. "I am sorry, lad," he said quietly. "Your brother gave us 1 year. But the earth is sick again. The signs are all there. The ravens that do not migrate, the ice that does not melt, the seeds that do not sprout in the greenhouses. The well is hungry again. You do not have to do this, I said, backing away, but there were villagers behind me too, closing the circle. You can break the pact. You can leave this cursed place. And go where? Asked a woman with a child in her arms. To die of hunger in the southern lands where the lords would enslave us, to freeze in the forests where wolves would devour us. Here we have homes, food, life. We only ask that it lasts a bit longer, just one more for the well. I lunged towards a gap in the circle, but strong hands grabbed me. I fought, struck, screamed, but there were too many. They lifted me bodily, carrying me like a ritual sacrifice, which is exactly what it was. Whilst they dragged me towards the well, I saw the warehouse Bjorn had spoken of. The door was ajar, and I could see inside. Stacks and stacks of bones, bleached and polished, some with inscriptions, some with dried flowers intertwined between the ribs. An ossuary of generations, a museum of death that kept the village alive. Do you feel the horror closing in like those villagers' hands? This is the curse of forgotten places where survival has a price paid in blood. If you are as trapped in this story as Ericsson in the villagers' circle, give us your like and comment from which part of the world you follow us. Subscribe, because what comes next is the final truth that no one who enters the well lives to tell. When we reached the well, the lid was already open. The darkness that emanated from its interior seemed solid, like an inverted black pillar descending to the heart of the earth. Please, I begged, my pride abandoning me before pure terror. Please do not do this. It will be quick, Ragnar promised, and for the first time I saw tears in his eyes. The fall is long, but oblivion comes before reaching the bottom, and afterwards you will be part of something greater. You will keep this village alive. Your whispers will lure the next one. The cycle will continue. Damn you all, I spat. Damn you all, and this place and the infernal pact you have made. We are already damned, Ragnar said softly. We were born into this curse. We grew up in it. We will die in it. But in the meantime, we live. And that has to be enough. They lifted me over the well's edge. I looked down and the darkness looked back at me. I felt I was being observed by something infinite, ancient, hungry. I am sorry, brother. I heard Bjorn whisper from the depths. Soon you will not be alone. And then they released me. The fall was exactly as Bjorn had described it. Endless. I fell through darkness so complete that I lost all sense of my own body. I did not know if I was falling or if the well was rising around me. Time stretched and contracted. I could have been falling for seconds or centuries, and then gradually I began to hear other things besides the wind of my fall. Whispers, thousands of them, voices reaching back centuries, all murmuring in a cacophony of dead and forgotten tongues. Welcome. Join us. Feed the mouth. Maintain the pact. Whisper with us. And then I saw something impossible in the absolute darkness. Light. Not light like the sun or torches, but a pale and sickly bioluminescence that pulsed with an organic rhythm. As I drew closer, the light resolved into shapes, bodies, or what remained of them, embedded in the well's walls like living fossils. Some were recent, with flesh still clinging to bones. Others were so ancient they had fused with the rock, their skeletons petrified in postures of supplication or agony. But they all had one thing in common. Their mouths were open, eternally open, whispering. And at the bottom, beneath all of them, I saw the mouth. I cannot adequately describe it, because my mind refuses to fully process what I saw. It was enormous, the size of the entire base of the well, perhaps larger. It did not have teeth as we know them, but something more like crystalline formations protruding at impossible angles. And at its center a void deeper than the well itself, a hole that led... where? To another world? To the void between worlds? to the stomach of a forgotten god. I impacted not against rock, but against something moist and pulsing. The mouth caught me, but as Bjorn had said, did not swallow me. Instead, I felt something, tentacles, roots, tongues, I do not know what, coiling around my body, dragging me towards the well's walls. The pain was indescribable. I felt my body being stretched, compressed, fused with the rock. I screamed, but my scream became a whisper, joining the eternal chorus of the damned. And then, in the moment I believed madness would consume me, something changed. I felt a connection, not only with Bjorn or with the other souls in the well, but with the village itself. I felt its fields, its animals, its people. I felt the sick earth responding to my sacrifice, feeling how my life filtered upwards through invisible roots, nourishing, fertilizing, healing. I understood then the horrible truth. The pact worked. My death, or this non-death, this existence between worlds, really would save the village. The harvests would grow again, the animals would thrive, the children would survive another year. And did that knowledge make it right? Did it make it acceptable? I do not know. Even now, embedded in these walls of stone and flesh, with my mouth open in an eternal whisper, I have no answer. What I do know is this. When the next outsider arrives, and another always arrives, lured by rumors of the prosperous village in the midst of barren lands, when that outsider approaches the well in the darkness of night, he will hear my voice. He will hear my name whispered from the depths. And just as I could not resist answering when I heard Bjorn, he will not be able to resist answering when he hears me. Because that is how the pact works. That is how it survives, generation after generation, century after century. Not only through violence and forced sacrifice, but through curiosity, love, hope, all those human weaknesses that make us approach the edge and look down when we know that we should walk away. And now, whilst I whisper from the bottom of the world, I understand something else. I am not a victim of the villagers. I am their accomplice. Because with each outsider I lure, with each soul I help push towards the mouth, I secure another year of prosperity for the village. Does that make me monster or savior? In the depths of the well that whispers, there is no difference. This spring, when the ice finally melted and the first seed sprouted in the village fields, Ragnar went down to the well with a basket. He filled it with water and carried it back, and that water, tinged slightly red, tasting of rust and death, was used to bless the harvests. The villagers drank from that water in their Thanksgiving ceremony. They sprinkled it over their fields. They gave it to their animals. And in each drop, a part of me was distributed, a part of Bjorn. A part of all who have fed the pact throughout the centuries. The village prospers. The village survives. And at the bottom of the well, we whisper, waiting for the next traveler, the next curious soul, the next brother or sister who cannot resist the temptation to search for their lost loved one. If you ever travel through the northern lands, if you ever find an inexplicably prosperous village in the midst of a frozen wasteland, if you see an ancient well in the center of the square and feel the temptation to approach, resist. Because I promise you this, you will hear whispers, you will hear your name, you will hear someone you love calling to you from the depths. And when you do, when you approach the edge and look down, it will already be too late. The well is always hungry, the pact must always be fulfilled, and those who whisper always need company. Come, draw near, listen. The well that whispers is calling you, and we are waiting for you.